Research Methodology 1. The course code for this module is Rm10D2. And my name is S. Dube, and I'm going to be the presenter for this module. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the concept of research and what is expected of you as you undertake this module. For a start, you realize that it has become a prerequisite that all students must be exposed to research methodology, of which in their fourth and final year they have to come up with a research project. So the introduction to research methodology is laying a very strong foundation on the concept of research in order for you to have the knowledge and the competencies that are going to help you to get to know how to go about conducting a research process. So you must remember that when we do research, research basically is about knowledge generation that we come about as a result of using scientific processes. So basically research is a scientific inquiry which we use to get answers in order to solve real-world problems. In this case, since you are studying HIV and AIDS management, we'll be talking about the context of actually using research to solve a number of problems that are involved in the world of HIV and AIDS. Because you must remember that when we talk about research, it's not only confined to HIV and AIDS. Research is cross-cutting. You can find research in IT, research in human resources, research in all the other fields, social work, etc., etc. So, for a start, when we talk about a research, it has got a structure that it follows. So the first part is that you come across the title page, whereby you have to give us your title. You must come up with a title. You must present the student and the author, which is you as a student, your supervisor, the date and year. Actually, what I will encourage you to do is that we do have quite a number of research projects which have already been completed by previous students. And it's very important that at least you must get a hard copy and say, okay, this is what a research is all about and what I'm required to do. So there are certain things that are also involved, issues of declaration. We'll talk more about them as we go along, dedication, table of contents, list of tables and figures, acknowledgements, abstract. This is the language of research. Now, this is where I want us to take a bit of time. The structure of research, what exactly is involved in the structure of research and the terms thereof, which are very important. Because it is knowing this structure and knowing these terms that you are going to be tested upon. If you go to your tutorial, you realize that all your assignments, basically, they are based on that element. Right. So in research, basically, we have got about 6 chapters. There are normally 5 chapters, but for us who are doing HIV, we are having 6 chapters. So chapter 1 is the introduction and background of the study. Right? So you are introducing us to the problem that you are researching about. And for you to give us a good understanding, because first of all, you must understand that, one, in order for you to come up with a research, it must come from a problem. What problem do you want to solve? First of all, you identify a problem, then from that problem, you come up with a topic, right, which becomes the title of your research. And then from there now, you go on now to look at what it is that you are supposed to do. So the introduction, you are introducing us to your problem. You must give us the background of your proposed study. You must give us or tell us about the statement of the problem. What is it that is causing the pain? For example, let me give a very simple example. This is 2017. I just read an article right now from one of the online papers that between 2016 and 2017, 5,900 teenage girls in Kavango East and West fell pregnant. So we have been talking about HIV, we have been talking about teenage pregnancy, and. But perhaps if I were to ask you, can you format a statement of the problem? The issue will be, for example, we know by now, an average learner knows about HIV, they know about risky sexual behaviors, they know about all these other things. But what we don't know is what is causing these teenagers, 5,900 of them, to fall pregnant. So what we don't know is what is causing these teenagers to fall pregnant, and hence the need to research or to make or to conduct an inquiry. So the statement of the problem is very important because it gives you the justification why you must do your research. The next thing is the objectives of the study. The objectives is the accomplishment. What do you want to accomplish? And remember, this must be connected to your statement of the problem. And then we also have got research questions. Then from there we talk about significance of the study. This talks about the importance. What is the importance of your study? Who is going to benefit? Because your research must benefit people. Remember, when you get those findings, when you make an inquiry, when you produce, when you analyze your data, you must find out that, okay, so this problem of teenage pregnancy is caused by A, B, C, D. Then from there, we as communities, as NGOs, as FBOs, CBOs, policymakers can then say, how do we address this problem? Then we also talk about assumptions. And also delimitations has to do with the scope of your study. What is the scope of your study? And usually this is very geographical. Say maybe you may say, okay, I want to do an assessment of factors causing teenage pregnancy in Kavango East, for example, or Kavango West. Or maybe from there you can even go to a specific village, because remember, geography, resources may not allow you to stretch, because Kavango East is very big, Kavango West is very big. You may want to confine your study to a specific area. And then your research process has got the limitations, meaning what is it that can perhaps hinder your study? And also definition of key terms. So all this falls under chapter 1, and every research has got a conclusion. The next phase of research is literature review. So basically with literature review, we are looking at the work which was done by other people. Because remember, in this module, you will not be doing a thesis. We will just be introducing you to the concepts, and these are the concepts. If you go to your assignments, you realize that the structure of our assignments, your assignments, are designed in such a way that they give you some field work, not really very big, but just to help you try to adapt and to learn to use these concepts in your day-to-day work. So literature review looks at what is it that we already know about the problem. Okay, what useful data already exists that informs your efforts. For example, this the example I gave you about 5,900 teenagers who got pregnant. We know already that Kavango region, even before it became East and West, has a problem of teenage pregnancy. So there is information, there is data, but perhaps the question is, what is missing in that literature, which your study is going to provide? Because you must remember that literature review is about the gaps. What gaps are there? And why is your study approach an excellent way to solve the problem? So with literature review, you really consult the work which was done by other people. You read what we call grey literature, which are government publications. You read journals. Mostly we say your journal must not be more than 5 years, because remember, 5 years is a very long period of time. Once anything is more than 5 years, it becomes obsolete. You read websites. There's a lot of information on the website and stuff like that, which can help you to clean your understanding about a topic. Usually, people would say, if you want to do a good study, you must read at least 400 publications. And then from those 400 publications, you must now produce 100 quotes. The challenge I've seen mostly with most students is that when they are doing research, the moment they get a topic, the second minute they want to write everything. That is very impossible. You won't produce. Actually, you are looking for frustration. So first, when you identify your topic, the second thing you must do is to read about your topic. Because when you read, you start to gain understanding or insights. Then the next chapter, which is very important, is what you call research methodology. Remember what we said earlier. First of all, you identify the problem which need to be solved. Right? So now you are saying, I want to solve this problem scientifically. Because remember, there are two ways. There's a scientific process, there's a non-scientific process. But as academics, we want to use scientific tools. So, research methodology, you are telling us what tools are you going to use to collect data? Because in research, you need data in order for you to do what? To solve the problems or to find answers for the questions you are looking for. So in chapter 3, you come across concepts such as the rationale of the study, which is the reason why are you conducting the study. You also find what we call research design. What is the design of your study? There are normally 3 research design, that is qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method. And you need to understand what qualitative is, what quantitative is, and what the mixed method is. But also you must go beyond and explain what are the advantages of qualitative research design, what are the advantages of quantitative research design, what are the disadvantages of qualitative, quantitative, and also you look at the advantages and disadvantages of the mixed. Because the mixed method implies that you are using both qualitative and quantitative at the same time. But also you must go beyond and tell us why. Which design are you going to use? Why? Are you going to use a quantitative design? Are you going to use a qualitative design? Are you going to use a mixed method approach? And you must give us reasons why you're going to do that. And then from there, you must tell us about the research methodology looks at population. Meaning, where are you going to get your findings from? Which people are you going to get your findings from? If you look at, for example, the example I gave earlier about teenage girls. Say if you are doing a study on teenage girls in Kavango East, for example, 5,900 of them, both Kavango East and West. It means your population is all the teenagers who are living in that region. And then from there, we talk about the sample. Because mostly, when we talk about samples, it's a subset of the population. We cannot get data or collect data from the entire population. Say, for example, Kavango region is about 20,000 teenagers. Do you think you'll be able to collect data from all the 20,000? Very impossible. So, which is why we draw a sample. And there are advantages of using a sample, because among others, it helps us to get quality data. And remember, we don't have time to interview the population. It's very costly. If you look at a census, which is, we have a census in every 10 years. Why? Because to conduct a full census population is a very expensive and costly exercise. And you must remember that when you are doing these researches, this research process, you are not funded by anyone. You are doing it out of your pocket. And also you come to sample. So a sample is a subset. Then from there you must know something about a sampling design. So a sampling design can either be qualitative or no. A sampling design can either be probability or non-probability. Because first of all, you must remember that we spoke about research design, which is qualitative and quantitative. So out of a quantitative research design, the sampling design for a qualitative sampling design is non-probability. Then the one for the quantitative is probability. And you cannot mix these two. And then the sampling techniques, they flow out of that. So the sampling technique is what, if you are choosing a non-probability, your sampling design, we normally use three of them: convenience, snowballing, and purposive or judgmental. If it is a probability, we use simple random, structured, systematic, or so. Okay, and there are reasons why. If you go to your tutorials, all these are very well explained. And then from there, we also look at your research instruments. What are you going to, what tools or measures are you going to use to collect your data? And mostly we use a questionnaire. So we want you to know, to tell us, what do you think, what are the advantages of a questionnaire in helping you collect data? Nowadays, we always say you can use a questionnaire using deep interviews, in-depth interviews, but also you can record the conversation on your phone or on your tape recorder. And also we want, in a research methodology, we want to know about something about the procedure. What procedure are you going to use to collect data? So the procedure normally follows or comes after your research proposal. I'll talk about the research proposal before we close. To say, once your proposal has been approved, how are you going to collect your data? Meaning there are processes and procedures which are involved there. And then from there we look at the validity and liability. This is basically focused on the research instruments. How valid and how reliable? Because you must remember that research is repetitive. If you do a study and come up with findings, I must be able to go there and do a same study, and you and our findings must be the same. The moment they are different, then we must ask ourselves what went wrong. Then the next thing also is about analyzing. What you have collected your data. How are you going to analyze your data? If you look at qualitative, mostly we use codes, we use themes, emerging themes, etc., etc. If it is quantitative, usually you've got software which is already developed. Mostly people use SPSS. I'm aware of the softwares that are used in qualitative. Mostly it's called Atlasy, but I haven't really come across it in Namibia. But I want to believe by the time you guys go through your course, you must be able to lay hands on it or go through some form of training or exposure to it. And then we also look at ethics. Because remember, when you talk about ethics, you're talking about your moral conduct. How are you going to conduct yourself when you are collecting your data? There are processes and procedures which are also involved when you are collecting data. Because remember, ethics has to do with protecting the integrity of research, protecting the people, the interviewees, protecting yourself as a researcher, protecting even the institution that you represent. So there are a lot of ethical issues. For example, if you decide to do a study at schools, you must get clearance from the Ministry of Education, the Director of Education, even the principal. If you are doing a study at Ministry of Health, you must get an ethical clearance letter from the PS, from the Office of the PS. Then if you want to go to a hospital, you must get clearance from the superintendent. And then if you go down to the district level, whoever the matron is must also give you clearance, because we want to protect people. Having done that, the other part, so basically, maybe before we go to the last three chapters, I must say that if you go back to chapter 1, 2, and 3, mostly before you write your full research, you must come up with a proposal. So a proposal is only made up of 3 chapters, which is your introduction and background of the study, the literature review, and the research methodology. And before you go to chapter 4, 5, and 6, in between, you must collect data. So when you collect your data, this is where now you can go to chapter 5, 4, 5, and 6. So let's look at chapter 4 briefly. So chapter 4 is about findings and data presentation. So you don't do any analysis in chapter 4. You are just showing us what you found out, right? So you can present your findings in graphical forms, and you don't do so much. You just give us some highlights to say this is what you found out. Why? Because chapter 5 and 6 are going to take care of that. Then chapter 5, this is where we do analysis. Here we talk about findings and analysis linked to the problem statement, literature review, and objectives. So now remember, when you do research, another definition of research which I like so much, it talks about research is searching and searching again. So remember, this is a scientific process and it's very objective. So your findings, you want to, in chapter 5, you are going back to your literature. Do these findings confirm something about literature? Do they say something about the objectives? Do they say something about the statement of the problem? And this is where now there's a word people normally use, we sort of go to the nuts and bolts of your research in order to make sure that there's clarity on whether you found the answers or not. And finally, chapter 6 is about conclusions and recommendations based on chapter 5 and 2, findings and analysis. So here, you don't do much, but based on your findings, you give us the conclusions and you give us the recommendations, what needs to be done based on your findings. And then obviously there's a chapter on references. So you must give us a list of references, and remember, these references must be reflected in the in-text citation, and also they must be indicated in the reference list. So there are 2 types of referencing, in-text and also the reference list. So what I can say about research, just to give you an overview once again, is to say most people, what I've seen is that they are afraid of research. Most people are scared of research. Just like the fear of mathematics. When you tell people most of the time about maths, there are very few really raise their hands because I'm not sure why. But research is a very interesting subject. And as we go through this module, I will strongly encourage you to really look at the entire process of research, and then also acquaint yourself with the work which has already been done, especially by your fellow students. Like I said before, the HIV/AIDS department has got huge volumes of research projects which were really done by previous students. And there's nothing harm about borrowing, because our idea is to put some of those projects at your library so that you guys can actually access them in order for you to start to understand what exactly is required of you when you are doing your research. So what I will encourage you to do is that I know this is your second year. It is your second year, but I want to challenge you, maybe as we go along, to say, give me your topic. I will challenge you to say, give me a topic of your choice. You can send me an email, and then from there, try to create or come up with a mini proposal, a research proposal about what it is that you want to research on. I'm teaching currently second year students. I'm very encouraged by a couple of students who have told me that when I introduce them to research, someone was already telling me they want to already go and they've identified a topic they would like to go and collect data during the holidays. So remember, this is your second year. If you can start early to prepare for your full dissertation in your fourth and final year, I'll tell you, you really have done yourself a lot of justice. But first, you must come up with your topic, and then from there, perhaps in between as you do the assignments, because the research process is very practical. We'll try to balance the two as you do your assignments, and then on the one side, going through your proposal, you start to make sense exactly about what it is that you are doing. But also, I want to tell you one thing, that when you do research, you must not look at research in isolation. Research is cross-cutting. Research is about gathering information. Research is about presenting information in an academic style. So what it means is research is going to improve the quality of your work. Whatever assignment you are doing, whether it's psychological counseling, HIV education, and others, the moment you are given an assignment, because of your exposure to research methodology, you can apply this knowledge in those assignments. And I can tell you it will improve the quality of your work much more. So I want to encourage you to really work, especially with your librarians. I cannot stress this enough. Librarians have got wonderful skills to help you actually search information on the internet, but also I spoke about referencing. They will also teach you how to reference your work both in text and also on the reference list. And that way, the way even you present your academic work, when you do your assignments, you find that it will be very, very exciting. So this is a semester module. Time is very limited, but we can make the most out of it. My contact details are there in your tutorials, and I will encourage you to really get on. Let's work together. Let's make this possible. Let's create a new generation of researchers who produce homegrown knowledge to help solve some of the challenges we are facing in the world of HIV and AIDS. My contact details, like I said earlier, are there in your tutorials. Please do get in touch as soon as you land your tutorials. I thank you.